Third, fourth, and fifth grade leaders, we're preparing for March 3rd. This week we're going to talk about the 10 Commandments, the rules that God gave us so that we can understand better how to relate to Him and to each other. Your social activity for this series is a 5-second rule game. I'll briefly go over the rules of how to play this. So you have one kid who will be in the hot seat, and that kid will get to answer the questions first. And so you can designate another kid to be the reader. You could be the reader. You'll need somebody to help you be the time clock, unless you want to be official and do that on your cell phone. And so what you'll do is read a card, and this card says, name 3 animals that live in cold weather. And then the kid in the hot seat has 5 seconds to give all 3 of those answers. If they answer all 3 of them, then they get a point on their scorecard. If they don't, and the timer goes, then they don't get that point, but the play is not done. The next person sitting next to the person in the hot seat will be in the hot seat this time, and they have to answer the same question, but they cannot give any of the same answers that the person ahead of them did. So to simplify the game a little bit, if you wanted to, you could just take 3 or 4 kids and run the game with 1 question for every 3 to 4 kids. Or if you want to make it really challenging, I think it'd be fun to see if our 5th graders can do it. Have the whole table go around and try to answer the questions and see how many different answers you can get for your 5-second rule. We have large group, and then you will move into small group. And today you have a big project, and I know it's a big project, but we only give these kind of things to you every once in a while. So you will have some watercolor paints. There may not be enough paints for every kid to have their own tray of paints. We're going to do our best to make that happen, but they can share paints. There will be enough paintbrushes in there for everybody. And you'll also have a pitcher of water so that you can pour water so the kids can use their paints. What they're going to do is get one of these pieces of paper that says love God, love people, and one of these pieces of paper that have our 10 commandments on it. And what they're going to do is take their piece of paper that has the 10 commandments on it and cut it up and then put them in categories. So these first 4 up here at the very top should be in the love God category, and the next 6 should be in the love people category. So they'll take their glue stick and glue that on their paper. Then after that, so that they have a way to remember what God's rules are for us, they can use their watercolor paints and make a really pretty watercolor painting. It doesn't have to look like anything specific. If you want to show them some pictures of some famous works of art that use watercolors, they'll notice that many of the colors blend and bleed into each other. They could make it look like something specific, possibly the stone tablets or Moses or a sunrise or a sunset, however they want to do that. Really, we want for the kids to take these home and to want to display them so that they can remember God's rules for us. And I think it's so important for us to know that God felt like it was so important that we relate to each other that He gave us these rules. He gave us rules to know how to have relationship with Him. And there's some, like, not using bad words is an interesting way to figure out how to relate to God. So that could be a fun discussion thing as the kids are doing their art project that you can talk about. Also, the rules about how to relate to other people. You know, you'll notice on there, obey your parents is one. And maybe that's something that a lot of our kids are struggling with. And so you can talk about what are ways that you can obey your parents and respect your parents, even on days where that's really tough. So that is your activity for the day. And I know some of you don't like doing art activities, but give it a chance. This 1 week, we don't do these things very often, and give your kids the chance to be very creative this week. Then you have your memory verse activity. You'll have some basketball goals set up around the room. And kids are going to shoot our little tiny basketballs into the goal. Hopefully it's easy for them to do. And as they make a goal, they can say a word or a phrase from the memory verse, and you guys can take turns in doing that. Obviously, a slam dunk challenge is probably not best with our little basketball goals, but if we can help preserve and keep our basketball goals around through the entire series, we'd really appreciate it. Then you can pray and spend a little extra time with your kids. This activity today for small group may take a little extra time, so if you need to leave the memory verse activity out for this week, feel free to do that. That's not going to hurt anything. We want to make sure that the kids are soaking in and talking through our 10 commandments and how to relate to each other and to God. Thank you for building relationships that build disciples. What you do every week is one of the most important things we do here at Parkway Church. Through these relationships, we are seeing lives changed. Whole families are changed because of the relationships we're building with kids, because families are beginning to make life changes because of relationships they've had with other people who are helping them know about these rules that God gave us and how to, if you will, rules of engagement with each other. Thank you for leading. Feel free to reach out to me if you need me at any time.